Hi, this is kmccoskey, and the course is Faculty Development with Dr. Paul Wilhite. This chapter is about certain faculty development methods that involve teachers. And what we've learned so far is that by involving teachers in their own development, it creates buy-in and it's more sustainable and it's better than the drive-by professional development or the one-and-done professional development. The first one I'm going to talk about is lesson study. And it's a model that uses a group of teachers come together to design a lesson, and then one of them teaches the lesson and the others observe and take notes. Once that's done, they debrief and they offer constructive feedback, and they look at where the students may not have been engaged or there may have been issues with understanding. And they look at the lesson and think about what they could do to tweak it, to change it, to fix those rough spots. Another way of doing lesson study is the teacher could just record himself or herself teaching the lesson without having live persons there observing. And then they could later on look at the video and do it that way. And then a third model, example of lesson study is maybe a large professional development, maybe before school starts, where a master teacher would teach a lesson in front of like 50 to 100 observers, and then they would maybe have a Q&A and talk about how the lesson looked. Another model of involving teachers in professional development is teacher action research, which is the course I just finished, Action Research. And what's good about that is it allows teachers to investigate their own practices and think about what maybe they could change from that. It's beneficial to teachers because it can help create greater equality in education, and it can be done individually or it can be done in groups. It could be done just out of a sense of curiosity about one's practices, or it could be sponsored by the district or a university or another organization. And teachers may present their findings at a conference or at write a journal article to discuss their findings, and that's something I would be interested in doing. Another method of professional development is cognitively guided instruction, CGI. And CGI is specific to elementary math, and as a language arts person, I've not heard of this. Perhaps some of my math teachers may have done it, but I am familiar with, as a language arts person, literacy, and the equivalent to that in math is numeracy. So what it works on is having the children be able to identify the way they were thinking, the metacognition, thinking about their thinking. And it's beneficial for teachers to be trained in this so that they can help students with the dreaded word problem, and it helps teachers make instructional decisions based on the feedback and how to proceed with their math lessons. And so that sounds really interesting for math teachers. The last one is instructional coaching. It's the one I'm most familiar with. As a former administrator, we had what we called an academic coach. And so this is usually a master teacher, and they assist teachers in a number of ways. And the first is that they are not an administrator, and so they're a support person, and so teachers will generally accept feedback from them more readily because it's not an us versus them type of mentality. And so it's a non-supervisory role, and it works well in distributed leadership because they are a leader, just not an evaluator or appraiser. And so they will help the teacher plan the lesson, help them look for resources, and then watch them teach it and offer feedback in a non-judgmental way. The good thing about instructional coaching is that they can be working with multiple teachers, this teacher in the morning on math, that teacher in the afternoon on language arts, and they can be assisting multiple teachers and be in various stages of the assistance. And so this is the one that I would be most likely to implement at my school. And at my school, the reason why is because it is a college prep school and it is a private school. So these teachers don't have the training that a lot of public school teachers have. And so at my school, we do have some international students, mostly Chinese, and the upper school teachers, they're upper school students, and those teachers aren't familiar with linguistic accommodations. And these are really smart kids, but they're not, necessarily totally proficient. So teachers could benefit from an instructional coach who might help them come up with ways to make accommodations linguistically speaking. In middle school, by then, if a student has a learning disability, they probably would have gone to another school because of the rigor. It might be a little too much for them. But we do have students with dyslexia and smart kiddos again. So if we could have an instructional coach who could work with those teachers on accommodations or strategies to work with our dyslexic students to ensure that they are successful. And then finally, in lower school, they've not yet, a lot of times, been identified if they have a learning disability. And, kinder first, second, we're still trying to get to know those kids and what they're capable of. And maybe it's just an immaturity thing and they need to do kindergarten again. And we've had several of those. But an instructional coach could help these teachers with some accommodations, maybe some modifications. So keep these kids moving along and helping them with their learning to read and things that lower school kiddos do, so that we could at least help these kids in lower school until we decide that, and we tell the parents, your child needs to be tested to see if they have a learning disability, rather than telling the parents, hey, this school's not for your kiddo. So that's the one I would choose, would be an instructional coach. It's not a long-term solution for a college prep school, but it could buy time for the lower school parents to get a diagnosis and the adults involved make an informed decision. So these are some of the professional development models that are good at involving teachers, creating that buy-in. Thank you. Bye-bye.